Good morning, everyone. So welcome back to the Apidays Day 2, Segment 2. In this segment, we are going to talk about the data-driven API design. As you can hear in the day one, there's a lot of industry use case talk about the importance of data, the data fragmentation, etc. But how exactly we can cater different kind of data scenario? So we have live a few speakers to talk about that. The first one, we have Eason from Microsoft. He is the global technology strategist, and he will be talking about how to serving data as an API. Eason, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
It's okay. So I can hear your voice as well. So your slide is also ready. So let me pass the time to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay. Hi, good morning, everyone. Okay. Let me introduce myself very quickly. Okay. Hi, my name is Eason. I'm working at Microsoft as a global technology strategist. My role is something like a Microsoft CTO to serve for our global strategic customers on the technologies, digital transformations, and innovations. Actually, I have a 20 years development background. My focus areas will be on the digital developments, data analytics, and the data science as well. And I'm an active contributor in the data science and analytics communities, including the code repository, article, publication as well. Okay, just check it out, my GitHub repo or Medium's my latest article and the publications. So let's start the sections. And today I will share with you about the serving data as an API, right? The topic is something weird, right? Why we need to serve data as an API? I will let you know, right? I will give you a concept about the data virtualizations to let you know why it is required. Okay, why it is required. So let's talk about agendas. Okay, very simple. Okay, very simple to try to. I'm not trying to talking about so many technical. Okay, before we go into technical stuff, right? Definitely you can check out my code repo. Okay, a lot of code sample about how to we using a Node.js Go language to build an API very effectively. That's relatively simple. Just call the fork the repo, you can get it. So I'll tell you why we need to do this, right? And what is the challenges, okay, nowadays we are facing, and what kind of solution we can address the challenges as well. So why we need to serve the data as an API, right? Okay, before I'm going to topic about the data virtualizations, because okay, we everything we need to give a reason before you're doing it. Business demand, right? To serve our business, right? Okay, so multiple key points and try to consolidate in here is about why we need to have the data serving data as an API or data virtualizations. Convenience, first of all, right? Convenience means okay, I don't want to very complex integrations, okay, to pull in my data and consume it, right? This is the first point from the business point of view. They would like to conveniently to consume the data. Second point, okay, consistency. This is important. If the data is everywhere, something like a data lake, okay, if we have so many data sources, it's hard to find it, right? And you will lose the consistency as well, right? The data demand, okay, I would like to see the data in a consistency way instead of just this version, another version, it's totally different, right? Lost the consistency. The third thing, reliability. Okay, definitely we would like to get the data on time, right? No matter it's real-time data or batch mode data. I would like to get the data in reliable way. Okay, I consistency to get it. Definitely, I'm very stable to get it all the times instead of just in some days I'm searching for business intelligent dashboard something or reporting cannot generate, cannot see that. That's not a good idea. Performance. Performance is also important. This is one of the consideration when we think about the API as well, right? If the performance of the API of the virtualization is relatively slow, okay, just imagine if you are the boss, something, right, from the business demand, you would like to see the demand forecasting, the forecasting of the sales target, whatever, right? If you can just lack, okay, talk about the sales performance. The performance of loading dashboard just a nightmare. What do you think, right? This is not good ideas. Performance is one of business demand as well, okay? Velocity. Velocity means the speed, right? The real-time data, okay? The API definitely is a good idea, okay? Or the virtualization is definitely is a good idea, okay? To make the data, okay, the real-time data able to serve it on time in the very fast manners. So we understand, okay, the business demand, right? Sounds like reasonable, obviously, very reasonable for any architecture design, right? So what is the challenges? Okay, when we thinking about when we create, okay, just thinking, not talk about the topic about the data virtualization, just API. What is the challenges we are facing on, right? Complex access control, security access control, definitely, okay, because you have a multiple data source, you need to control the security access as well. If you are API, luckily, if you have the API gateway, okay, you will relatively mature, okay, you can control in a single pane of glasses, okay, but it's still complex on security access control. The performance demand, right? As I said, right, the business would like to pull the report, right? The consumer, right, or the mobile apps would like to call the API, okay, or call the report, okay, would like to grab the data, so okay, grab the API as fast as possible. So the first thing, the challenge is to aggregate the data view, right? So just imagine just one API, okay, or two API, three API, three data sources is working silo in a different business domain, right? You need to connect to multiple API, multiple data source, okay, and then make your result dashboard, okay, or results visualization from the mobile app or website. Thirdly, the fourth point is about the integrations. Okay, how hard is integrated? Okay, in old days, okay, if we try to connect the data source in the ODBC or JDBC drivers, okay, that's one thing is possible, but it make the integration relatively hard to achieve, right? Nowadays, API economy, definitely we would like to serve everything in the API way more easier to integrate, right? Integration is one of the challenges as well. So, okay, actually what is behind the scenes, right? From the top, okay, from the data source as well, okay. From the data source, okay, very simple to understand. Maybe you have in Microsoft, you have the Microsoft SQL Server or other SQL Server like MySQL, Postgres, or Oracle, okay. You have a data warehouse, or you have the NoSQL database, or the Spark, okay, or you have a Hadoop in nowadays, or file system, or even Mongo database, okay, in a NoSQL, right? A lot of data source to facilitate all the data consumer, as I share, right? Something like a BI dashboard, no matter Tableau, Power BI, okay? Or you are data analyst, okay? You would like to analyze the data, right? You need to use the Databricks or the Spark engines, okay? To try to analyze data, train the model, wherever you like, okay? Or you have the containerized applications, okay? That's a part of data consumer as well. You have the website, you have the mobile, or even the end user would like to have single plane, okay, to consume the data as a result, okay? Definitely from the IT perspective, from the data perspective, okay, you have this demand, okay, you have this demand of the report, you have this demand of the mobiles, okay, no problem. I make you a connection for you. As consequently, you can see something like this, right? At a high level angle, just like mass in here, so my linking, right? Just like old days, right? Like data centers, right? All the cable in a mass in this way, right? So there's a mind-blowing questions, right? What can we do, right? Okay, that's the next topic. Next topic. What can we do? How can we help, right? Okay, data virtualizations. Actually, let me try to describe the data virtualizations more. It's not just, so to be honest, just the speaking section is just try to describe it as an API. Data virtualization is not just a API, right? Data virtualization is something like a software or conceptual things, okay, to aggregate all the structural, all the unstructured data, the data source, okay, for the virtual viewing through the dashboard or virtualization tools. And definitely, most of the data virtualization software they can represent it as an API for easy integration. No matter is the Spark, okay, no matter is a BI tools, is make it more easier. The software allow the metadata to the data more discoverable and hiding the complexity associated with the accessing disparate data source from the various data source. So just like my previous slide, you can see like a mass, right? It just imagine data virtualization is a virtual layers. It's your virtual layers. Hiding, I can say hiding. Okay, hiding in there. Okay, all the mass is handled by you, handled by the related virtualization software. So as the consumer, you can easily have the single pane of glasses to consume the data. It is important to note data virtualization is not replicating the data out okay, from the source system. It's just try to aggregate all the source system depends on the requirements, and then it simply store the metadata and integrate the logic for the viewing person as a presentation. So that's why it's a data virtualization. So Let me try to try to prepare a slide deck, something like this, for more easier to understand, right? In previous slide, okay, you can see a mass, right? Depends on the requirements, okay, the nine, okay, the dotted line, okay, will be much, much, much more, right? Okay, so what if we have the data visualization layer in here, right? Would be able helped a lot because the data consumer, okay, can be contact with single brain, the data visualization engines or platform, right? Definitely rely on the software platform, right? Okay, so they can easily to locate, okay, to consumer data more effectively, okay. In most cases, the data visualization software will be serving as the API, the SQL to facilitate the dashboard purpose. As a data consumer, you're more easier to consume it. Or nowadays, we try to serve the data as a product, right? So this is way to achieve it. DAAP, data as a product to serve for our, we have such kind of ordering data, okay? Now we serve the data as a product to serve for the business need. Data visualization software uses a simple three-step process to connect the data source, to combine, okay? That means the data visualizations and make it consume, okay? To deliver holistic view of the enterprise to the business user across all underlying source system, right? I'll try to describe in previous slide. One of the principles of the data mesh diagram is considering the data as a product. Sometimes the principle has been have you changed the wording as a data product? Okay, hence the confusion as well. Data product is a just like generic terms, right? Data product something like a BI recommendation engines. Okay, and here, okay, you can see data as a product. It's a set of the possible data. Okay, just more specifically, data as a product belongs to the raw or deliver data as a data product. It's a type of products. Okay, just deliver the data result, the digested data as a product to our end consumer right here, right? So what kind of component inside of data visualization here, right? Solving, definitely we talk a lot in here, right? It has the centralized performance and resources management. We also have the data catalog for easily, okay, for the data consumer, what kind of data you have, okay, more easier to figure it out, right? The caching, okay, the caching means, okay, is it require all the times going back to the data source, okay? Definitely we are not trying to replicate the data, okay, as a caching to facilitate the data consumer much more better. And most importantly, as I said, okay, security and the data privacy as well, the governance, okay, you can use this virtualization layer to control all the security assets from the consumers or from the products. And the governance, that's the same thing. And most importantly, as I said, okay, the challenges before, right? Aggregated view, right? In old days, okay, we may, for example, the containerized application at the back end, okay, I need to connect to the SQL database to pull in transaction. I need to connect to the NoSQL database to pull in the customer's data profile, something, right? At least two dot line in there, I need to connect, right? But back to the data visualizations, I can contact it with the single frame of classes, okay, with the single view, okay, for to serve my demand. And in some cases, some people maybe serve it as a product, okay, to serve for the mobile, right? This is a mobile view as a product to facilitate it. So that's about data visualizations. But one very important concept when we're talking about the data visualization is the data mesh. Data mesh is obviously a trending topic, but I think, okay, but I can say, okay, the data mesh, okay, is more or less is related to data visualizations. Data mesh is something like a concept, okay? It's not a truth, it's not software, okay? It's a design principle, okay? From starting from 2019, okay, from someone, okay, to try to uh, in the principle, how do we design a data mesh, right? So we have the data ownership, okay? Data as a product, as I said, right? Okay, serving self-serving data infrastructure platform, and including the federated governance as well. Many organizations invest in the centralized data lake and the data teams, okay, with the expectation drive the business on the data. However, a few initial quick win, they can just that the centralized data teams may often be that bottleneck, right? Something like you can see the diagram, right? If someone manage it, okay, will be a bottleneck. The team cannot be handle all the analytic questions or demand from the business, okay, to manage the product in a very quick way. So let me try to describe it, these four key bullets in here, okay, with you guys, okay. Data ownership. According to the principle, okay, its analytical data should be composed around the domain. Let's say the business domain, I mean, right, okay. Similar to the team boundary aligned with the system boundary context, okay, following the data, following the domain-driven distribution architecture, something like this. Analytical and operational data ownership is moved to the domain team away from the centralized data team. This is the key of the domain ownership, right? So instead of just one man band doing the data. Second thing, the key concept of data mesh is data as a product. The principle means there's a consumer for the data beyond the domain. The domain teams, okay, as I said, right, domain, right? The domain team is responsible for the satisfying the needs of other domain providing high quality data. Basically, domain data should be treated as any other public API. Self-serving data infrastructure platform is more easy to understand, right? Okay, it's a dedicated data platform, provide domain agnostic functionality, tools, system to build, execute, and maintain the intercorporate data project for all the domain. That's something like what I said, right? Data virtualization. With its platform, the data platform teams enable the domain team seamlessly to consume and create the data product, right? Sounds like what we heard before, virtualizations, right? And lastly, federated governance is very important. The main goal of federated governance is to create a data ecosystem with enhanced to organization rules and industry regulations. Okay, let me try to visualize it for me more easier to understand in here, right? Okay, as I said, four main concepts in here: right? Data ownership, DAAP, data as a product, self-service data platform, federated governance. And in principle, that's a vertical, right? Okay, how about a horizontal design in here, right? We have the strategic domain design, DDD in here, okay, SDDD in here. We have CISO technical perspective in here. We have the technologies in here. And I know the time is relatively rushed for today. So, okay, I'm not trying to explain the whole concept in here. So, okay, let me try to go through with you a little bit in here very fast, right? Domain-based context, okay, in the data ownership, right? As I tried to describe before, right? Try to separate the data, okay, by the domain-based context, okay. Definitely from the CISO perspective, right? We have the corresponding data domain team to manage the data instead of just one man band, okay, or one team brand to manage all the data, just like a data teams, right? So what kind of technology we need to what we need to have, right? Operational, analytical data we need to have, right? Data as a platform, right? Product thinking, as I said, DAAP is something like serving data as API or SQL in single pane of glasses. Think about serving the data as a product instead of just a mass or just an Excel file, something like this, right? The data product by the domain team, right? How can we define data as a product? Definitely, you cannot define by your own, right? As an IT, right? If you're IT advisor, right? We need to cooperate with the business team or the domain team correspondingly, let's say finance, to define what was the meaning of the data of the product, right? Definitely, from a technology perspective, okay, we need to have the intercooperative interface to serve it more better. Yeah, okay, we were going to, okay, self-serving data platform, self-serve data platform. Suppose domain agnostic, okay, consolidate all the views, okay, something like back here, virtualization, something high, right? Data platform team maintain the platform, definitely, okay, centralize it. Self-serving data platform is required to serve it as a technology perspective. Lastly, federated governance, context mapping, okay, map corresponding security and governance to corresponding context, okay, and the GUI base, okay, for the domain segregations. And lastly, the data governance and automation are also important for the technology support of such kind of initiative. So let's try to call example in the e-commerce website from here. So the simplified e-commerce example in here is a mesh. Okay, it's a mesh. or is a mess in here, right? You can see from the marketing people, okay, that they have the funnel analysis, need to require to connect to the product search, article detail, checkout, whatever, and you can see the management report, it require to connect to the customer 360, okay, to connect to CRM, okay, and the controlling support, the performing report, very important. They need to connect to everywhere, something like what we see in the previous diagram. I'm gonna try to say before the data virtualizations, right? How do we make it better, right? How do we make it better? Together with the data mesh concept. What if, okay, we have to virtualize the layers, okay? We make all the aggregated view, okay, in the middle. So data virtualization is a virtual software in here. So data as a product at the top, right? Consumer aligned, right? Like the marketing, funnel analysis, KPI dashboard, okay? Profit reporting, okay? This is the data product, okay? We can, okay, talk with the domain experts, right? To define the data as a product. And then from the security compliance perspective, we can control, okay, in the fingerprint of glasses of the tools, okay, of data virtualization, as we said. The security covers, you can control a single pane of glasses. The problem is, right, you can scale it in the single pane of glasses, something like this. And respect to the source, okay? The source is aligned, right? The data virtualization on behalf of you, right? To talking with the ultimate data source and then feed the data out to serve the data as a product, DAAP, right? So this is the last slide, okay? Thank you for listening for today, my sharing, talking about the data virtualizations and how to map the data mesh in the data virtualization as well. And again, okay, this is my GitHub repo, my Medium, check it out my latest articles or publication in here. I'm also have the Hong Kong AI communities. We have a lot of experts in there talking about the artificial intelligence, exchange the ideas. If you have good ideas, we learn something, feel free to get it out. Yeah. So that's my sharing of today's.
Okay.
Patrick, are we,
Thanks.
are we on time?
You're on time. We still have 3 minutes left, so maybe I will grab some question. So you talk about different kind of data visualization thing and the data mesh ideas. So I would say the data as a product thing is very similar to what we say API as a product, and this is data is one of the things that we want to package. So we heard a lot of questions, especially yesterday, is the challenge on enterprise is how to handle the data fragmentation, how to start the first step. They need to spend a lot of effort on that one. So I understand that you talked to a lot to CTO, etc. Can you share some quick common challenges or what is the first step? For example, maybe some of the audience here may not have chance to talk to you before. So maybe their enterprise have a lot of data. So what is your quick suggestion how they can get started?
Get start to the data virtualization.
Yeah, maybe.
Yep. I think nowadays, if you are new to the data world, definitely we would like to start from small, right? Okay. But nowadays, I think the concept of data mesh is very important, right? So I know a lot of enterprise, a lot of the corporate as well already start to adopt the data platform, right? Nowadays, they also looking for the data mesh, following the principle, okay, to define the data strategy as well. So what I'm advice is, okay, just following the principle and the rules of terms of the data mesh design, okay, and then you can start the journey much more easier, okay. I'm not saying, okay, if you started the data platform already, it's hard to convert, it's also able to convert, okay. The planning, okay, the architecture planning is very important to make you success on the serving data as a product, right? If the domain context
So
is otherwise, you were doing something. You go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just thinking, are you suggesting maybe starting some greenfield POC projects first? Because this is what we heard mostly from enterprises, that they are already got a lot of things existing. So they are not really have chance to revamp something new. So are you suggesting them they maybe start this kind of thing in a greenfield projects, whatever? What is a general pain point or journey you may suggest to them?
Starting from greenfield, right? From greenfield project. Okay, you may consider have rapid prototyping, right? Like the agile development, right? So you may start from the MVP, okay, to try to start to explore a virtualization software to try to put in some data source, okay, and then start to expose the data, making it as a product. But before you're thinking about the something as API, that's very common. Like a AI recommendation, for example, if you would like to make a recommendation engines, right? Not real time, not real time. Okay, we try to understand the customers, and then I recommend something for you in the mobile apps, right? In the carousel, you can see the recommendation product, right? That's something is an API. Technically, okay, you can just make a product just one time, just a multi, just an API, and then the backend, mobile backend can tap into API and then consume it. Very easy to understand. But what if, okay, if you have 10 more, 1,000 more, okay, API, it would be a mess. It would be a mess. So that's why, okay, you can just still start, okay, from the 1 or 2 API. Let's say you're starting from 10 already, okay, you should little take pause and think about what is the strategy would be look like, right, for future. Otherwise, would be become something like this here on the screen.
Okay, got that, got that. Yeah, I think this is a good talks for the audience to quickly understand the concept of the data mesh, and then just try to avoid maybe it's not buying a platform will solve your problem. You still need to plan and think ahead. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach Eason out. He's a very nice guy and then very proactive in the community. So once again, thanks Eason for your support this morning. Okay, thank you.
Thank
See
you.
you soon.
Thank you, Patrick. See you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.